Good day, Internet. Mr. Thain back at it again with another teaching tips video. Now, giving good directions can make or break any lesson plan. So in today's video, I'm going to teach you a couple quick tips on how to give good, clear, specific directions. So the first step in making good directions is simple. You need to start with the end in mind. So what you need to do is you actually have to plan out the directions you're going to give. So think, in a perfect world, what do my students look like? What do they sound like? And what are they doing or thinking about or producing? So that's very important to think about. Now, after you've thought about that, your little perfect world, you need to ask yourself, how am I going to get my students to do those things? So a quick, easy way to do that, to make sure you've got your bases covered, is to think about what the students are doing with their body, their voice, and their brain. So three things: body, brain, and voice. So your directions for your students before your lesson need to include those three things. The next step is making sure that your directions are specific and manageable. Make sure that you can actually enforce your directions. If you want your classroom to be absolutely silent, make sure you have your routines and procedures in place and that students can actually do that. Make sure that you can manage your directions. Don't give them something that you aren't willing to maintain. Next, make your directions specific. So, you can't just say, all right, we're going to do a great job with our writing today. Make sure you do a good job. What is a good job? What does that mean? What does that sound like? What does that look like? Make sure they're specific. So here I'm going to give you a quick example of a direction that I would give that has what the students should be doing with their body, their voice, and their brain. Here we go. All right, students, it's time for our morning work. Now, this is the time of the day in the morning where we get our brains ready, we get our brains warmed up for a great day of learning. Now, as you know, every day when we do our morning work, I'm looking for three things. I'm looking for students who have their tummies to the table and their bottoms in their seats. I'm looking for students who have a quiet voice. And I'm looking for students with their pencils and crayons moving. Now, obviously, I want you guys to work together in a team, but let's try and make sure our voices are real quiet. Should the green table be able to hear the red table? No, you're right, they should not. It's a quiet whisper voice. Okay, so who can tell me the three things that I'm looking for before we get started on our morning work? Yes, we're looking for voices quiet, tummy to the table, and pencils and crayons moving. Okay, so notice that my directions there were very specific. They talked about their body, tummy to table, their voice is quiet, and pencils and crayons moving. Also, my directions were very manageable. I would be able to walk around the classroom while they're doing that activity, and I could actually point out students who are doing those things. I could say something like this: wow, I see yellow table with their tummies tucked, voices quiet, and crayons and pencils moving. I see green table with their tummies tucked. Now, when I say that and I go around and I repeat those directions, it's reinforcing what they should be doing. So giving good directions is so important because you can actually eliminate most of those unwanted behaviors, like talking too much and not working, or simply not doing their work. Because when you give good directions, students know what they should be doing, and they can look around and they can see other students doing what they should be doing. So again, we're making sure that our directions are manageable and specific. Start with the end in mind. So picture your perfect world, your classroom. What does it look like, sound like, feel like? And actually put it on paper or type it. Write your directions out. So another example is if you're using materials. So at the beginning of the year, I do a game where we use dice. And the students, they have to roll the dice and they have to record the number on a chart, what number they got. So before I actually even let them touch the dice, I show them how to roll the dice. Because I actually made the mistake of my first year teaching, didn't show them how to use the dice, and spent most of the time chasing down loose dice that were going everywhere, all around the classroom. It was a mess. So before I even give my students their dice, I show them how to properly roll the dice. So I'll show them that it's possible to roll the dice 10 times without the dice even leaving the paper. So then I give each of my students, I give them a dice, and they practice rolling their dice carefully on their paper, so that way all the students know that it's possible to not have dice on the floor. Then I follow that up with a challenge, and I challenge each table individually. I say, if your table keeps their dice on the table the whole time, then you will get a sticker or whatever the incentive I'm using for that day or that week or that month. So it's important that when you're giving directions, you think about all the materials that you're using too. Not just their body, brain, and voice, but you gotta also think about materials too. Don't just give them glue sticks and tell them, all right, go ahead. You gotta show them how to use the glue. Remind them how to use the glue. When you're making your directions, assume absolutely nothing. Just pretend like you've never had these students before and this is the first time they've been in any classroom ever. Assume nothing and you're going to get the better results when you're making your directions. So, if you have any other ideas on how to give good directions, go ahead and leave a comment below. If you like this video and you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to my channel, like the video, find me on Facebook or on Twitter. I'll link all those things in the description below. Hey, make it a great day.